up, folks? Sean the Average Angler coming at you with another great video. And today we've got a trash it or fish it for you. And we're going to cover quite a few baits in this one because this is following up my Yamamoto event this past weekend. So I thought I would do a Yamamoto baits one. Let's get the official housekeeping stuff out of the way first. We're dangling around a little bit around the 5,000 subscriber mark. Once we get there, we're going to do a big tackle giveaway. So if you're new to the channel, you're not subscribed, and you want a chance to win the tackle giveaway, you're going to need to subscribe because only subscribers are eligible to win. If you do like this kind of content, you're not interested in winning, hey, still subscribe anyway. Okay, so we did the Yamamoto tournament. You guys, if you watch the videos, you probably know this already. It's no secret. Yamamoto baits had to be used in every presentation. Of course, have a lot of Yamamoto baits, the traditional stuff, if you will. But I bought a lot of new stuff because I was anticipating that those kinds of bites would be going on. One of those was the Sensei worm, which I just double-checked the website. It says they're neutrally buoyant, which neutrally buoyant means they should hold shape on a shaky head, meaning not tip over and fall on the bottom or anything like that. First, I want to talk about color selection. Look, Yamamoto baits is great for a lot of stuff, and they're not so great for other stuff. That's why there's so many choices. That's why there's so many bait companies out there. And quite honestly, this Morning Dawn, in my opinion, lackluster. Okay? Because it's really just pink. It's not Morning Dawn. If I had a Robo Morning Dawn here and held them up next to each other, you'd say those are two different colors. You'd be right, because the Yamamoto or the Robo Morning Dawn has more to it than just a pink worm, which is what this is. It's a pink worm. It got bit, nothing special, small fish, but anyway. So I don't care for the Morning Dawn. However, their June bug here is fantastic, right? I think they call it, what do they call it? Now they call this one June bug, which is funny because some of them they call purple with emerald. But anyway, this color, so some of their colors, Yamamoto makes some really good color. Quite honestly, I think they should stay in their lane. They got a lot of really good baits. So if you can't tell, and I'm going to show you some in the water footage. Let's take a look at that really quick, just so we get it out there, okay? So, as you can see, the worm is not neutrally buoyant at all. It's an anchor. Every single time it took my Bass Union shaky head, which I've showed you with plenty of other baits, and it's tipping it over, okay? Tipping it over on its side nonstop. The bait is not neutrally buoyant. I took it off of the hook, threw it in the water, it went straight to the bottom, as you could see in the video. I prefer a bait that is buoyant. I want something that is going to kind of stand up with its tail at maybe an angle like this, maybe more, but as long as it's staying up off the bottom and it affords you the luxury of it kind of waving around in water movement, it's giving you some sort of action for free. Now, this moves really well if you keep it moving, but if you stop it and give it the chance, it kept wanting to tip over. So to me, trash it. Hate to say that about any Yamamoto bait, but the bottom line is, hey, not everything is a success. And I have a feeling this was more made for their pro staff to have some 6.5-inch worms that they could throw instead of a competitor's, or perhaps they just say they were throwing something else. On the positive note, and I did do a little bit of a video on this prior, and that is the 4-inch Yamacraw. It's really kind of a beast of a trailer, but when you put it on this full-size jig, and this is kind of a bulky jig here. This is the sand tone that I showed in the last video. But no trim skirt. I took this out there and I fished it as is for 3 days. I changed the trailer once and I caught multiple fish. You'll even see the head held up pretty darn well. I'm not really quite sure what's different about theirs, except that it has those slots there where the paint stayed inside and it's mostly off of the smooth surface side. But this trailer had multiple benefits, and I'm specifically talking about the 4-inch, because the 3-inch that you see in my other hand here did not do the same thing. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But that 4-inch stood that jig up. Like when you'd pop the jig, it would come down and this trailer would stay there like this. And those little claws would just wave back and forth slowly with the natural water movement, you know, kind of like wave, and really, really cool action. And then if you look at how big these edges are on the end of the kickers, I mean, let me tell you, this thing moves some water. Like you feel it when you're reeling it in. And the first few times I was like, shit, did I get a stick on my jig? No, this thing pulls that hard. It is moving a ton of water. I really, really like the 4-inch Yamacraw. If you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you know that I love the Strike King Rage Craw. This may replace it for me just based on the fact that it has that floating material in it, and I really like how it stands up that jig. The Strike King, great profile, moves really well, moves a lot of water, but it doesn't stand the jig up. This is the first trailer I have seen that's the 4-inch Yamacraw. Now here I have the 3-inch. Great profile, but I personally think the flappers are a little too small. I think it's too big of a difference. And here's an example next to the Beastie Bug, which is just a 3.8-inch Beastie Bug. So maybe closer to the 4, but this claw here just has more presence. The other thing, when you're talking about the Yamacraw, not a ton of colors. There's a few that I would have liked to have seen. Blue craw, obviously my favorite. But there are some other ones very similar to this Beastie Bug that I just showed you. Okay, that's called Mad Hatter. Okay, it's kind of a black and red swirl. Phenomenal color. If you've never fished with that type of color, it's very natural to a crawdad's coloring. I've had days when the fish in that color where it's just epic. The other thing, color I'd really like to see out of Yamamoto and that Yamacraw is a black blue swirl, you know, where they're kind of swirled, very much like this one, right? Anyway, if I need to downsize and go to the 3-inch, quite honestly, I'm gonna fish my beloved Beastie Bug. There are tons and tons of colors that are much better than what's available in the Yamacraw. And hey, maybe most people can find something they're good with in the Yamacraw. I basically found the blue craw. That's for me, okay? I bought a bunch of other ones. I wanted black blue. All they had was black with blue flake, which is okay, but it's not quite exactly what I wanted. Had the color I was thinking of, the swirl, been available, I wouldn't have bought it. Besides that, I am a fish it on the 4-inch Yamacraw. The 3-inch, honestly, I'm going to go to the Beastie Bug. Okay, the profile's there. The pinchers are a little bit bigger. It also floats, and there's just straight up better color. So the other bait, it's been around a little while. I honestly haven't used it a whole lot. I needed a bait, one that I thought I was going to perform on the swing head, and then two, as a flipping bait, if I so desired. Yamamoto makes a really good flipping bait. They make several, and actually this one happened to win one side of the tournament. The AM side was one flipping a Yamamoto cowboy. I don't really know how to feel about this bait. Well, I do know how to feel about this bait. It's not a bait that I'm gonna run out and buy any more of. It's a little different. It works. It's got a good sized body. It's got the oversized claws on it. You'll see this is the smaller flapping hog. The body's the same. So really, depending on what you want, I don't need this. I can go to this. The only real advantage that I can see of the cowboy is it's going to slow your fall if you're flipping. Now, on the swing head, there's no doubt this is doing a little bit more. I found it to be a little overpowering for what I like on a swing head. I actually like the Strike King Magnum Rage Bug. It kicks really, really well. It's a little more subtle on the retrieve than this is. The claws are just a bit overdone. The real downside to this bait, you all know, you get one bite. One bite wonders. So you go through a lot of them. Now there's a lot of baits that I would say, hey, you know that's the deal. They get bit, so you take it for what it is, right? A lot of these baits I've had for, a long time. I've been a Yamamoto guy for, everybody fishes Yamamoto, right? Here's the deal. There's that body, essentially, right, from the cowboy. That's the bigger flapping hog. Now this one's kind of cocker-eyed. You look at that there. But anyway, the 3.75 I would use as a jig trailer. Probably pull off these appendages, use it as a jig trailer. It typically will last longer than one fish. This is a new color, or newer color. It's a blue craw. I bought these direct, so I'm not sure how much they were. $7-8 for 5 bait. Not necessarily the best value. And you look at it again, everything's kind of out of ding dong. The body's kind of warped in two different directions. But I still really like the flapping hog for flipping. And the advantage, like I said, of throwing the cowboy over the flapping hog might be if you're flipping or something like that and you want to slow the fall. Without retying and changing baits up, you could very easily just swap baits, right? Pull the flapping hog off, put a cowboy on. Really, the profile's similar. You just got the kicking legs versus the non-kicking legs. More of what I would call a profile bait. So the cowboy, I'm a thumbs down, okay? I know some people like it, some won't. It's just an opinion video, guys. Meaning I won't buy anymore. I'll stuff these away in my Yamamoto box, and next year when the Yamamoto event rolls around, hey, guess what? I'm gonna pull them back out. I'm not gonna have to buy more. In the meantime, I will fish the other stuff I like to fish. Now that 4-inch flapping hog, it's staying on the deck. 3 more baits. Real quick, okay? We're not gonna spend a lot of time on these. This is the 5-inch shad-shaped floater. See, it's a very popular shape, right? I'm a thumbs down. Not because it doesn't work, not because it doesn't have the right profile. There's just better choices, okay? Spunk shad comes to mind, right? All kinds of other ones. Here, any one of these in here. Better movement in the water, better colors, so forth and so on. Those will work if that's what you got and you're a Yamamoto fan and that's all you want to throw is Yamamoto. More power to you. Okay, the Slinko. This one I was really interested in. And quite honestly, it had a lot of highlight. This bait skips extremely well on a shaky hit. It floats like it's supposed to. Stands that head up. It can be fished a lot of different ways. You can Nico rig it, you could drop shot it, you could freaking throw it on a shaky head like I was doing it. And it's a tougher worm than your typical Yamamoto bait. So you can catch several fish on it. It's just, the profile of it is going to run too close into my Fatty Z, okay? Which is going to outlast it tenfold, okay? It's elastic. So if you have the Slinkos, again, like the Yamamotos, whatever, the bait works. It does what it's supposed to do. The ribs slow the fall down a lot. So there's a lot of good there. It's not something that I'm going to change and go fish all the time. They're coming out of the boat. They'll go in the box and they'll be for next year. All right, now I do have some really good news here. And I say good news because this new Yamamoto bait, and this was released just before the tournament, is a Yamamoto 6-inch Hinge Minnow. Okay, there you see it. I don't know if you can really see the ribs. Oh, you can. There's rib or plastic there coming down each side. This bait rolls side to side really well. Okay, a very dependable and good alternative to some of the other minnow style baits that might be a little harder to get. Now they are coming out with other sizes. I don't remember what they are. This was 5 baits for, think about $10. Again, this is the 6-inch. It's a pretty good size minnow. It moved really good in the water. My buddy caught his big fish of the tournament on it. It's a good bait. It performed well. It was easy to get to do what you need it to do. Good alternative to a Sakamoto shad, although there are a lot of alternatives out there now. And right now, to me, the minnow baits, there's a lot of good ones out there. You know, you whatever you can get in the colors that you need, that's the one I go with. You know what I mean? It's a minnow, and quite honestly, most of them have gotten pretty good to do what you need to do, or you can make some changes with the head you're using, the knot you're tying on with, that kind of thing, and it makes a huge difference. If you put a loop knot in it, just about any minnow bait you put on there is gonna roll pretty dang good. It's something a lot of scopers may not be talking about or telling you about. It's the truth of the matter, okay? All right, hopefully this wasn't too negative. I didn't mean it that way, but there's just certain baits that I'm not gonna buy for any other reason other than the Yamamoto tournament, because they don't perform as some other options, okay? For the worm, the 6-inch straight tail worm, the fat packs is better, the colors are better, they're less money. You know the story, right? The shad shape, I don't really know what their intention was of this. To me, it looks most similar to that of a spunk shad type bait for the chatterbait or spinnerbait. I guess you could drop shot it. I don't really know that I would use it for a minnow bait. Like I said, there's too many good minnow baits out there. The flapping hog, of course, everybody knows the flapping hog. It is a great flip and punch bait. It's also a good jig trailer. The big winner to me was my 549 Yamacraw in 4-inch. That was because these were on clearance at my local tackle shop. And I'm not going to go in there and beg them to carry them, to be honest with you, because that just means more people around here will fish them. The 3-inch, you can count on getting some 3-inch in the tackle giveaway that I'm going to be doing, because I bought way too many of them. And keep in mind, the 3-inch is also the bait that Tucker Smith won the Ultimate Bass Challenge on Gunnersville. So they obviously work. I just have an alternative for it in that beastie bug. So love me seeing my Yamamoto baits, but not for everything. Sean the Average Angler, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.